Welcome to part 3 of the Steampunk Daze mini album tutorial. In your reserves, you will have this. We are on page 10. Measure over 8 inches and cut it. Okay, in your reserves, you will find this. We're going to make this real easy. Place this one down with the clocks. Place this one down. Even them up, and you are going to cut just on the left side of this key, straight down, so we get them both the same. That should get you fairly close to being even as far as the cream and everything. We'll need to get at these in just a moment. Set these off to the side. Another piece is we just had this. This is the cutoff from this, so let's grab that. In your reserves, you will find this piece. Measure over 8 inches and cut it. Grab your ruler. From the tip of this side thing, you are going to measure out a 1/2 inch from that point. Make a mark. Trim it. Let's now start with what we have going here. Grab a piece of cardstock, and we're going to do this real easy. We're going to apply glue to the back of this. We are going to center that, leaving a little bit of black showing up here. We're going to glue it down, and then we're going to trim off this excess. So let's do that. This is what you should have. Now also in your reserves, I should have had you grab this out. What you're going to do is you are going to grab this piece here, and I'm just going to line it up so I can still see the edges. I'm going to make a mark on each side, and I'm going to trim. And then we're going to fussy cut around the bottom, ink it up really good. Okay, grab your score tape. Place it to the bottom of our page. We're going to do a regular pocket like we've been doing before. First thing is we are going to mount this. We're going to wrap our flaps around the back. We will tack that down. But what we're going to do with this is we are going to apply glue to this side along the top. We're going to place it down, and starting from the middle, we'll smooth it out so that you can stick things underneath there. And I'll show you what that looks like. I've got mine down. You will want to allow that glue to dry. But if you want to stick a little tag up underneath here, once the glue's dry, it will hold. Grab this piece. We actually want to trim this. This should be 7 7/8 of an inch. So let's go ahead and trim off the bottom 1/8 of an inch. In your reserves, you should have a very large piece of black cardstock. If you were to place this down, this is definitely going to fit. So all we need to do, measure over 8 inches and cut it. Okay. This piece here, I'm showing mine is about 6 7/8 of an inch wide, and now it's 8 inches long. If you are 7 inches wide this way, you're fine, because remember, we've got some flaps and all that. Let's place this just to double check, and it looks good. Let's get our pocket ready for this. And we'll get to this in just a moment as soon as we're done with our pocket. In your reserves, you will find a large strip that looks like this. Just place this on down so you can center these two windows. One is slightly larger than the other. And you don't have to be real precise, just make a mark on either side. Let's trim that so it will fit. Grab a piece of scrap cardstock that if you were to lay it down, it will give you enough room. Here I'm showing real shy of getting past, but I can still wrap these, and that works. We want a piece that we can at least lay this down, and then we're going to trim up the bottom. So this is good, and I'm going to glue it down, and then I'm going to trim up along the bottom. I did my trimming. I'm going to get my score tape. This pocket works really good, especially to put some tags or to layer up some picture mats. We are just going to mount that. Wrap our edges and tack this. We're going to do some easy scoring. We are just going to push that all the way to the left of this piece of cardstock. We are going to glue it down. So let's do that. Grab your scoreboard and just move that over so that we can score and leave a little bit of black showing. And then let's move over about 3/16 of an inch and score the second. Let's attach this, and then we can work on the inside. In your paper pack, you will find this sheet. We're just going to lay that right on up there. We're going to mark it with a pencil over here, if I can find my pencil. Here's a different one. Make sure you're going to clear your score line. And now all we're going to do is just trim that. Measure over 7 7/8 of an inch and in your reserves you will find this. We're just going to line that right on up. Make a pencil mark and trim that to fit. Grab a piece of cardstock and we're just going to do the same thing. We're going to apply glue here. And we're going to mount it, leaving a little bit of black showing. And once that's glued down, we're just going to trim that to fit. Place a piece of score tape down at the bottom. And I'm all gluey. And we're going to mount this like we do. And tack around the flaps to the back. In your reserves, you will find a piece like this. And all we are going to do is trim it to fit, and I am just eyeballing this to try and get this centered. So make my mark here and here. It looks like it's right on the brown line, the first one's in. And then we're just going to glue that down. Apply glue to the back of this, and let's mount that. We'll be applying our embellishments last. Grab a piece of cardstock, measure over 5 5/8 of an inch and cut it. Now measure over 6 1/4 inches and cut it. Grab this sheet that we were sticking off to the side. So all we're going to do is bring this down. We're going to center. We'll have black on either side and a little bit of black showing down here, but we're going to glue that down just like that. We're going to repeat the same thing we did. Measure over 5 5/8, cut it, and then we will cut it by 6 1/4 inches. Grab this piece, and what you're going to want to do to make sure that you look, because these lines are going to be matching up, is just place your two pieces of cardstock next to each other and try to get them the same as what you had up here. Then we're just going to glue this down. Whoops. Up here, your flap is going to be down here, so that will be a lot easier to see where exactly we were on that. So line it up, glue it down. Let's grab our scoreboard. And all we are going to do is measure over, like we've been, about 1/16 of an inch and score it. Move over 3/16 of an inch on this one. Score again. Grab this one, about 1/16 of an inch, and then measure over 1/8 of an inch on this one. And let's go ahead and fold. I may be shy of 1/8 on that. I should be using my ruler. That's okay. Okay, on this one, what we're going to do is just flip that right on up. in your reserves, you will have this. And I am just going to double it up, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before, just moving right over and clearing the tip of this and cutting it down. Now, check to see if you are going to fit, and you should. Glue that down. Grab this one, flip it over. The flap would now be at the top. And glue that one down. Let's assemble. We're going to do this one first. All we're going to do is just slide that right on up there. Pinch it. Wrap that over. Grab the top. Find where it's straight. Pinch it. And tack that one down too. Grab one of your medium-sized timepieces, wood timepieces, and I did blot that with silver. And this just gets placed right here, and we need to let that dry. Don't put any glue under the tip or up here, because you still want to be able to get a picture in there. Let's get this out. Whoops, there goes my thingy. Let's cut around Time Flies. And then we're going to ink around the edges. Have a little glue where that little piece is, and just slide that right like that. Let's go ahead and grab Adventure. Do the same thing. Cut it out, ink around the edges, do a little bit of glue there, and slide it off to the side underneath. This is what you should have. Let's flip that up. We are going to cut out Cherish the Moments out of our reserves. We're going to ink around the edges. We're going to mount it onto black cardstock. I've got mine on black cardstock, just like that. Let's just apply a little bit of glue and mount that. Cut around Family and Fun, ink around the edges. Let's apply some glue here. Grab small wooden gear and just stick that right like that. This page is complete. Let's flip it over, score tape around the outside, one down the middle, two small on either side, and mount that in our book. Let's go ahead and move on to our final two pages. Page 11 and 12 are done together, so let's turn it like this. Measure over 8 inches and cut it. Now that should bring you right above the fin. This long strip we'll need in a little bit, so just set that off where it's handy. Now measure over 6 inches and cut it. Grab this out of your paper collection, and we're going to turn it like this so that the clocks are sideways, and measure over 5 3/4 of an inch and cut it. So we are 5 3/4 inch this way. Measure over 6 inches and divide those. Okay, this one is for this side. This is for this side. We need to get our cardstock, and you will need 2 sheets. Now we're going to do the same thing. We're going to grab 2 pieces of 8.5 by 11 cardstock, and we're going to do the exact same thing. Now, because a lot of you don't have the wider platform, we're just going to have to piggyback. So to make it easier for you, I've got the wider platform that will accommodate this whole sheet. But on each one of these, what you're going to do, let's cut it down first. Let's go ahead and measure over, say, 4 inches and cut it. We'll start there. We need these 2 sheets, so set that off to the side. Here we go. Now it will fit through your die cutter if you're working with only a 6-inch wide platform. On each one of these, place your thing at the top. Make sure you are centered, and we're going to run that through the die cutter on both. After you've cut in from both sides, grab your score tape and just run a piece at the top, and we're 8.5 inches wide on both of these. Okay, on each one of these we're going to do the same thing. Let's remove our score tape from the top. Okay, we are going to flip that over. Let's add a little glue for down here. Okay, I'm unclogged. I'm just going to run some glue right down here. Okay. Now, flip this over, and you will stay straight by trying to keep the sides straight. Let's do the same thing here. Okay, we need to trim these down, double them both up, and just trim off 3/4 of an inch from that. Once you've done that, we're just going to apply glue to this on both of these. Center. And remember, you're 6 inches across there. And we're going to do the same thing with this one. Now let's go ahead and trim off the excess for each of these. Apply score tape to the bottom of each of these. And we're going to mount both these pockets just like we've been doing, removing the score tape, placing this down and wrapping around the back. This is where you should be. Cut a piece of cardstock. We are 11 inches long this way, 8.5 inches this way. Measure over 4 1/8 of an inch and cut it. Measure over 11 inches and cut it. We're going to go ahead and put glue on the back of this, and we are going to mount this. And when we mount this, we will leave a little bit of black showing at the top. We're going to get more precise by scoring with our tool. Flip this over. At 5.5 inches, you are going to score. At 1 inch, you are going to score. Measure in 2 1/4 inches, which is 8 3/4, and score. Flip it over. At 1.5 inches, let's score it this way. And at 9 inches, let's start there. Let's go ahead and fold using our tool. So I'm going to score on all those that went that way. And I had one up here. Set this off to the side for a moment. Let's get these in our book. Do our normal score tape around the outside, 1 down the middle, 2 on either side. Okay, have your pencil and your eraser handy here. The first thing I want you to do is try these measurements. Now, because we all kind of situate our page and they fall how they fall after we try to get them even, we may be a hair off from each other. But first try this. Measure in from the side green of your page 1 3/4 of an inch and make a line. from measuring in from the side of the green here over 1 1/4 inches. Now this is what I want you to do. I want you to hold tight right here. Okay, put that on the line. Stretch this one over, hold tight. Now, first thing I want you to do is close it. Does it close? Mine does, and mine fits. If yours doesn't, maneuver the one on the right just a hair until you can close. The next test is holding on tight. Will it close without sticking out the side and without making extra creases? If yours fits, now you have your spot. Mine works good like this, holding it, and when I go to close it, it closes good. I know where mine is. If you need to adjust yours, just let these creases already help you. You will find it. It will, if you hold on tight on one side, the creases will align itself. Allow this one to slide if this isn't your mark. Okay, I am going to actually use score tape on each side. I'm going to run score tape here and score tape over here. I am going to run 2 lines of it. And I'm going to bring this all the way down to the bottom of my page. Now the ultimate test here. I close both ways. I'm good. In your reserves, you will have this sheet. Let's go ahead and fussy cut out this owl and ink around the edges. Okay, the owl is going to slide right behind here. So I'm going to put some glue down underneath here as soon as I unclog this. I think I got it. Much better. So I'm going to put a little glue up here about halfway up. You are going to grab a piece of cardstock or something to put back behind here, because when he slides here, we are just going to put a little bit of glue. And you'll just slide him right back behind so his wings don't go past here. And he is just going to go right like that. Whoops, it would help if you could see what I'm doing. So I just slid the owl right down here. Put some glue back behind him. I did slide this back behind so I don't get any glue back there. In your reserves, you will find this. Let's go ahead and cut out the having the time of our lives. Find a piece of scrap cardstock, and all we're going to do is apply glue, and we are going to mount it to the black cardstock, leaving a 1/16 inch of black showing all the way around. So let's do that. Okay, flip it over. Let's put a little glue right around here. And we are just going to mount this to the bottom corner to make a little pocket. In your reserves, you will find this. Let's cut this out. And we're going to fussy cut it and ink around the edges. Let's chop off one of the wings, and we can just touch that up. Let's remove the gears, and we can touch that up, as well as these, and we can divide these all together. Out of our reserves, let's go ahead and grab this. We are just going to, and just go ahead and eyeball this. Just cut a couple pieces off. We're going to go ahead and fold this one in half. Fold this one in half. Let's apply a little glue to this side and mount that back behind, somewhere in the middle there. Detach the clock. And you're just going to have it to where the crease is facing this way. And you're just going to glue it just like this. And the clock, I'm going to cut a strip for that clock. And the clock I'm just going to place, and I'm going to cut this down actually. Now I'll put them in up to that way, it's fine. Put the tab in there. We're going to give this a moment to dry. Bring that to the crease. Now let's see if this will turn itself. Yeah, and it should. Just need to let that dry. This gear, I'm just going to add a little glue and just glue that right back behind. This gear, we're just going to glue right up there, right back behind. This page is complete. You should be able to turn it and get it in there. Close it. Turn your page. Let's go ahead and get our drits on there. So let's attach our drits. And I'm going to use black brass for this. All we're going to do, and you'll want a binder clip for this, is just put a little bit of glue underneath here, and you can wipe off the excess that squirts out, and you're just going to place that in there just enough so you can get that back through. Let's go ahead and clip this. And we're going to allow that to dry for about 5 minutes. It should be pretty dry. So all we are going to do with this is feed it through the loops. And I'm going to cut me enough so that I have enough to work with here. So feed it through the loops. I'm going to put this on its spine. Now remember, you don't have any picture mats in it, so you're not going to want to pull it real tight. All we're going to do is just enough so that it reaches across and will give us plenty of room to add. So I'm about right there, and you can see I have some play in there. So I'm just going to pinch that. And I'm going to squirt a little hot glue just to get that started. And I'm going to snip off any extra that I don't need. And you can do it any way that you like. Now what you place here is completely up to you. I grabbed a very small timepiece and I daubed it with teal zeal first, real lightly. Then I went over it with the silver and it kind of gave me more of that color. So all I'm going to do is glue that down. I am going to use my white glue for this and I'm going to clamp it. Place that down. And I'm going to unhook it now and clamp that. For the front, I'm going to grab a wooden gear. And make sure that I don't go over too far so that that can't latch. And then what I'm going to do is cut this piece out of our cutout. I'm going to ink around the edges and I am going to glue that right in the center there. Last but not least, now that we have that placed where it needs to be, let's add some glue to this wooden gear. And we're just going to place that. Right there. Clean up some of the glue with a piece of scrap paper here. Thanks for joining me with this tutorial. This album is complete. Look for my next one. It's an 8x8 wedding album. Happy crafting!